Hello and welcome to the Amateur Austenite. My name is Frances Duncan. I am an author and the founder of the Jane Austen Society of New Zealand. My co-host is my friend Sian.
Hello.
And today we are discussing Chapter 28 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Chapter 28 is the ball. Sir Thomas thinks Fanny looks pretty.
He actually says she looks beautiful.
Her aunts are like, yeah, I guess so. The boys are more admiring of her. Mr Crawford asks her for the first two dances. She's mortified that she has to dance and open the ball. She has a very quiet dance with Edmund because he's tired, but she actually finds great enjoyment in it. She has to sit down afterwards because she's too tired. Then Sir Thomas sends her to bed after finally agreeing that she could get up in the morning for William's final breakfast with them and inviting Mr Crawford to breakfast.
Is matchmaking.
Sir Thomas talks about Fanny's beauty after she leaves the room. The neatness and propriety of her dress was all he would allow himself to commend in her presence. But after she leaves, he speaks of her beauty with very decided praise. We wondered
whether he didn't wish to make her self-conscious, or it was you just don't praise people in that manner to their face.
So yeah, whether he knew her well enough to know it would make her uncomfortable, because it would have made her uncomfortable, or whether it was, it's just not appropriate to say, by the way, Niece, you're very pretty. Lady Bertram and Mrs Norris are both selfish. Lady Bertram is just, I sent my maid to her, and Mrs Norris is like, it was all you and me that made her this pretty because we brought her to Mansfield. But Sir Thomas could see at the eyes of the two young men that when the ladies withdrew, he could bring up the subject again with much more success. The guests start to arrive, and the sight of so many strangers threw Fanny back into herself. And her uncle brings her forward. She was forced to be spoken to and to curtsy and to speak again.
This is another example of her aunts not doing their duty by her. It was not Sir Thomas's role to teach her how to greet guests. That should have been done by her aunts.
The way they talk about it makes it seem very much like there wasn't a sort of receiving line. It was more informal and everybody just turned up.
They still would have had to have greeted the guests.
Well, she is the
guest of all.
The guest of honour. That you would expect her to be doing that. But her being such a decided introvert, I think, makes this quite painful for her. And she so little understands her own claims.
I think it's not so much the introvert. It's she has been taught since she's 10 that she is not an important member of the household.
And she still has difficulty seeing herself as important. But interestingly, when she went to the parsonage for dinner for the first time, she did recognise that she was the lady of the night. But she cannot see it in this context.
No.
I wonder if part of that is it being in the house. I will never have a place in this house.
And also, we realise this is the first time there's been a ball in the house.
So often as she had heard them wish for a ball at home as the greatest of all felicities.
So she's not seen how the primary lady, or the coming out, would behave. She's not seen how that should be done in her own house, to realise that in this instance that would have been her responsibility. And in fact, she's also thinking of it, what a pity her cousins couldn't be there.
Which is so charitable of her.
She's very charitable.
It shows again actually how much her uncle cares for her. I know that in the epilogue we see how important they become to each other, but actually even now he's doing things for her that he did not do for his own daughters. He's come home and gone, she is a fully formed woman, she's very shy, doesn't seem like Mrs Norris treats her very well.
He's very much seen that.
I want to make things better. I want to look after her. And he is being very fatherly.
And he's doing this wonderful matchmaking.
Fanny ends up talking to Miss Crawford. Miss Crawford has the same reaction as Edmund did. They're both so excited that they shared this thought about getting Fanny a necklace. Miss Crawford says that was like himself. No other man would have thought of it. Irony being that her brother thought of it. And she did not. Miss Crawford had intended to give Fanny compliments and insinuations, but they were forgotten in this circumstance, and I assume that the compliments and insinuations were on her brother's behalf.
And I think what Miss Crawford's thinking of here is the kindness of Edmund, and recognising the real need there wasn't for a necklace, but was for a chain.
Mr Crawford asks her for the first 2 dances, and she's kind of shocked by this. Sir Thomas comes to ask her if she has a partner. Yes, Mr Crawford, and it was exactly what he had intended to hear. He expected Mr Crawford, he wanted Mr Crawford to ask her, and Fanny had thought there would be like a whole palaver with talking and trying to beg someone to ask her to dance.
Yeah.
And she thinks about her cousins. Not only is she opening the ball, but she's opening it with Mr Crawford. What would they have thought? Their father is hosting a ball for their cousin. He's never done that for them. And she is opening it with Mr Crawford, who both of them were chasing.
Very ironic.
The other cousin missing is Tom, and I wonder why Tom didn't come home for the party. Perhaps he didn't have time, maybe letters didn't reach him, or maybe they never thought to invite him, but it does seem a little odd that the oldest son isn't there. Mariah, I understand she now has her own family.
A ball is not to his taste. He's a bit of a wastrel at this moment. He's much more wanting to be out with the boys. His kind of party is probably going to be a lot less respectable.
Fanny's really uncomfortable for the first dance, but she relaxes into it in the second, when she could suppose herself no longer looked at. Sir Thomas was proud of his niece, and he thinks her physical beauty is owing to her, but he is pleased with himself for having supplied everything else. Education and manners she owed to him.
He gave her the opportunity of a good education and to learn manners of a better class. But he recognises that she has her own value and she's made the most of those opportunities.
Miss Crawford works the room. She works the adults. She praises Fanny to Sir Thomas. She praises Fanny to Lady Bertram, which is funny because Lady Bertram is still thinking of herself, though she was really pleased to have Fanny admired.
Yes.
She's still so struck with her own kindness.
As if it's a shock.
That she should do something nice for her niece. Miss Crawford knew Mrs Norris too well to think of gratifying her with any commendation
Yes.
of Fanny. And sees obviously we're missing the cousins. Miss Crawford blundered most perhaps towards Fanny herself in her intentions to please. She insinuates how important Fanny is to her brother Henry and asks why he's going to London, saying this is the first time he has ever denied me his confidence. Basically, can you tell me what he's going for? And this is the first time reading this interaction that I realised, I think potentially she thinks that he is going to marry Fanny. She does appear shocked later when he says, I do want to marry her, but why else would you be asking her, why is he going to London? Like, it seems like, is he going to London to make preparations for a marriage? Is he going to London to talk to the Admiral about marrying you? Why else would Fanny know what he was going to London for?
Is he going back to London to get a betrothal ring? Dancing the first dance is actually a very strong signal of attraction.
And he tried to get her for the supper dance, which we think he did too.
Yeah.
Which is the other very important dance.
So there's 3 dances. There's the first dance, the supper dance, and then the final dance. Now, if he had taken the final dance, then that would have been it. It would have been expected.
Because you can't dance with someone 3 times.
No. He was making a statement, and it's a very public statement because it's in front of Sir Thomas. I think here we have Mary realising this is more than just him having a bit of fun.
Sir Thomas actually thinks Mr Crawford was in love with Fanny. Actually stated. This is a huge thing to be thinking.
We have to remember, Sir Thomas has only ever seen Henry Crawford at the vicarage and here in company with Edmund, Mary and Fanny. He's got no idea of all the other stuff. He did leave. He and his sister left when it became apparent that the play was not going ahead. They made themselves scarce
So
appropriately.
He might not have ever attached in his mind the fact that those 2 were involved in the play.
He may have attached that they were mine, but they showed good judgment by leaving when he arrived. Unlike Mr Yates, who He practically had to be thrown out of the house. He's always seen Henry Crawford at his best behaviour, and he's a very personable young man.
Miss Crawford can't understand Fanny not being happy about this, because Fanny's not showing the sort of things that she would expect. She's not smiling or blushing or giggling, and she thinks her over anxious or odd or anything rather than insensible of pleasure in Henry's attentions. Miss Crawford's very good at reading some people, but when it comes to Fanny, she's not getting it.
Because she's never met anybody who isn't thoroughly charmed by Henry Crawford, by her brother. She adores her brother. They are very close. She cannot understand someone not being attracted to her brother. After all, the two cousins were absolutely overly so.
Even Henry has the same reaction. How can you not be in love with me? I'm great. Everyone loves me. All the girls want to marry me.
Because it's not just the charm, it's everything else. He's a very wealthy young man. So he's not a Wickham in that sense. He's not a fortune seeker or a seducer. He could fully support a wife easily.
What's fascinating, though, is they make it clear at the start that he's plain. He's not handsome. He's just quite plain. But his manner and his charm is what makes him attractive.
Yes. And he's not ugly. He's not tall and...
As Mr Washworth will often remind you.
He's only about
5'9",
5'9", which is actually a reasonable height as far as I'm concerned.
Fanny's been waiting all evening to dance with Edmund. She's been surprised that she's dancing with people all evening, but of course people are seeking her out. Edmund says, I am worn out with civility, but with you, Fanny, there may be peace. You will not want to be talked to. And although they go down the dance very sedately, to Fanny, it's actually pleasurable that Edmund feels like he can actually be himself with her. He wasn't happy with the evening. He and Miss Crawford have fought again. They're very good at fighting. And Fanny thinks that it was barbarous to be happy when Edmund was suffering. Yet some happiness must and would arise from the very conviction that he did suffer. People are like, Fanny is so good. I hate her because she's so good. But right here, she's like, I'm enjoying that he's unhappy because it means that him and Miss Crawford are not on goods. She sits down after their dance and Mr Crawford sits down next to her. Eventually, Sir Thomas says, it's really late. I think you should go to bed. And William comes over as well. And she says, I'm going to get up and have breakfast with you. And Sir Thomas says, shouldn't you sleep in, sort of thing? And Mr Crawford says, there will be no kind sister to get up for me.
Woe is me.
Poor me, please invite me to breakfast, bat. And Fanny was so totally unused to having her pleasure consulted or to have anything take place at all in the way she could desire, that she was more disposed to wonder and rejoice in actually being allowed to still get up and have breakfast with William than in the fact that Mr Crawford was invited against her wishes.
What got me, though, was I hadn't picked up that it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So it has been
very long night.
A long night. And definitely much later than Fanny would be up at normal times.
Also because they live in the country, so they're more likely to keep country hours.
Exactly.
So that's closer to rising and setting of sun than in London, where everyone's just out all night partying.
Actually, it was a lot more fun than I remember. I think I've been clouded by the films, where quite often she looks quite uncomfortable about Henry Crawford. But I think in here she's actually self-conscious about her role, but I think actually she's really enjoying herself.
I mean, how fantastic to have your first ball and in your home where she's most comfortable and getting to dance with the man that she loves. There are drawbacks to that, but she's still got to dance with him.
The thing is, while she has hope, she's also quite rational about them. She doesn't let them herself get totally dragged away by them. They're nice dreams, but they know they're dreams, and she knows she's growing. She's becoming a young woman. She's not a child anymore.
And that is our summary of Chapter 28 of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. My name is Frances Duncan. You can find me at francesduncanwrites.com and on Twitter at Frances_Duncan. Thank you for listening, and we wish you happy reading.